Thanks for listening to Gossip with Celebrity, brought to you by Celebrity.com. This week we talk about the Royals and the anti-abortion law in Texas. We end with our weekly feature, the comments of the week. The stories, photos, and tweets we talk about can be found at Celebrity.com/podcast under episode 101. Hi, I'm Katie, the founder and editor of Celebrity.com, and I write as Celebrity.
And I'm Chandra. I'm the head writer for Celebrity, and I write as Kaiser.
So we're going to have one more episode next week. That's the 12th of September. And then we'll be off for 2 weeks because we have events we have to cover. We've been talking about that. We'll be back on October 3rd. So that sounds like so long, but it'll be Halloween, then Thanksgiving, then Christmas. And
yeah.
Yay.
Halloween is your favorite, and Thanksgiving and Christmas are my favorite.
Yeah. I like the candy holidays, and I like the dressing up holidays, so Halloween has both of that.
Oh, have you tried Reese's bats? Like, they have bat-shaped Reese's cups, whatever.
Ooh, I will get those.
Because they used to have, Ghost? I think they had Ghost cups, and now they have bats.
Okay, the seasonal Reese's are the best. We've talked about that. I'll definitely get those. So we've had a lot of extreme weather. It's not as bad as people.
Yeah, Hurricane Ida has just been, it ran through the Gulf Coast and then it weakened and it became a storm that just basically ripped up the East Coast. So
we had tornado warnings by me, but you didn't get them. You're a little bit away from me.
Yeah, we didn't get tornado warnings. And we didn't even get all that much rain. Like, I was a little bit surprised because you weren't here for Katrina in 2005.
No, I was overseas.
When Katrina broke up and it came up through Virginia, it was a mass flooding event. We had feet of rain and all the rivers were overflowing. Yeah, it was crazy. So I was kind of halfway expecting that, just to have like some minor flooding, but we really didn't. And then it just clobbered New Jersey and New York.
Oh, those poor people. My friend in New York, Lisa, we have her on the podcast a lot. Doesn't have power, but her street isn't flooded, but she was showing us pictures of like a street a couple blocks from her that's completely flooded. So she got lucky, but it sounds bad for them. Philadelphia, they had a tornado warning. And that's when you have to go down to the basement. That's not like a watch.
Yeah.
For me, that's news because I don't really know from tornadoes. I've never been anywhere where I've had a tornado warning.
A few years ago, my area, we had some tornadoes touch down. There was a tornado that touched down like 2 miles away from me. And it was the first time in my lifetime that a tornado has ever been in this area.
And we think we're not affected by climate change as much here because we don't have as extreme weather, but everybody is.
Yeah.
It's bad lately.
And speaking of flooding, we're recording this on Thursday. Last night, Wednesday night at the U.S. Open, the U.S. Open happens in New York, it happens in Queens. And basically, it was raining all day on site. And so matches kept on having to be canceled or just put off for hours. And then, like, the sheets of rain started coming last night. And, like, one of the roofs broke on one of the courts. And, like, they couldn't finish the match. And it was just chaos. And everyone trying to leave as all of that rain was coming down. And it was crazy.
Damn. This guy, Tsitsipas, that we talked about, he's the anti-vaxxer dumbass, one of several.
Yeah, one of several on the men's tour. It's really ridiculous. Yeah.
And they're not kicking him out. Like, the football players are getting kicked off, but not the tennis players yet.
Yeah, not yet. So Stefanos Tsitsipas played Andy Murray, who is massively popular. Everyone loves Andy Murray. He's a legend. He's coming back from injury yet again. And they played in the first match on. And Andy Murray, he was just so angry at Tsitsipas because Tsitsipas took a 8 or 9 minute bathroom break. And Andy was not able to like shut up about that. He was so angry that Stefanos ruined his concentration, and it totally throws players off when you take that long of a bathroom break. Yeah, and Tsitsipas has been doing this for months. He's been taking these really long bathroom breaks, and Andy Murray has just decided that it's enough. And so now that's what everyone is talking about at the US Open. ESPN devoted a whole video package to the bathroom issue. They're interviewing coaches about what they think about how long should a player take in a bathroom.
And dudes don't take that long. They can pee fast.
Yeah, the thing is that a lot of male players, especially, they like to change their clothes because they're out on court for so long and it is hot and humid. And I understand that they want to change their shorts, they want to change their shirt, and that takes, a few more minutes. But match after match, with Tsitsipas especially needing 10-minute bathroom breaks, it's excessive.
And they also say that he might be getting unauthorized coaching, they're not supposed to get coached in the middle of matches, so he could be texting with his coach and getting...
Well, Andy insinuated that.
Okay.
But before Andy said that, the domestic abuser, alleged domestic abuser, Alex Zverev, he said that Tsitsipas was taking his phone into the bathroom and texting with his father, and his father coaches him.
Oh, okay.
That's why everyone is obsessed with the idea that players are taking their phones into the bathroom to get coaching.
Oh, it probably are.
Yeah.
I mean, this dumbass seems like somebody who would do that. As a sadder note, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Zverev. How do you say it? I read his ex-girlfriend's account of his abuse of her, and it was harrowing.
Yeah, Zverev.
You had linked it on Twitter.
His name is Alex Zverev Jr. He's half Russian, but he plays for Germany. And he was known as the very charming, charismatic young player, and it turns out that he's just a complete freaking psycho.
Sociopath.
Yeah.
So they need to kick off the abusers and the anti-vaxxers. Just, if you don't get in line, you get kicked off. It's pretty simple.
I think before they kick off the anti-vaxxers, they're just going to do a mandate. And that's what they need to do right now. They just need to line all these guys up and just vaccinate them. Say it's a necessity.
It is. All right, let's talk about the Royals. So Finding Freedom came out in paperback, and that has a new epilogue with some updates about the Sussexes. And the Royal Press has been going batshit about all the new details, and just it's ridiculous as always. The most revealing story to me, and that's one that you knew, but that didn't get a lot of attention back at the time, was that two of the staffers who allegedly complained that Meghan bullied them recanted their stories in 2018.
Well, not recanted, just rescinded. They said they didn't want to make a formal complaint.
Okay, so they rescinded it.
It was a complicated issue because originally when it was reported in March, it was all via the Times of London. And it was very clear that Kensington Palace, i.e. Jason Knopf, was pushing this story, that he was opening up an investigation into how Meghan bullied staff. And this was their fail-safe, clownery that they were going to launch whenever they were really worried whatever Meghan was going to say. And so they launched that right before the Oprah interview came out. And it was just so obviously an orchestrated hit piece.
Yeah.
And then there was this little detail of, oh, by the way, as soon as Jason started emailing Buckingham Palace about it, the two staffers rescinded their claims. And Omid Scobie and Carolyn Durant basically just confirmed that. They confirmed it with secondary sources that these two palace staffers rescinded their claims.
It sounds like from the way it was worded in the original story, there might be one more person, but it makes zero sense. And there's no details. We have never heard any details other than Meghan made somebody cry.
Right.
Which is what they've always said about her, or that she sent an email at 5:00 in the morning.
Or it's always oh, this staffer was shaking. She was so upset because of Meghan. Well, what did Meghan do? And we'll never find an answer.
Exactly. It's the same deal with the stupid tights or whatever story that was. They kept changing their story.
That was the stupid bridesmaid story. Oh, God.
Oh, my gosh. So Vanity Fair also reported this week that Will and Kate plan to move to Windsor Castle in the country, and that they're going to keep their apartment in London and Kensington Palace just for when they're there. It sounds like they've been living separate lives. We've been talking about this for a while. We heard back in June that Kate was looking for homes close to her parents in Bucklebury, or that the Cambridges were, but really seemed to be Kate. We talked about that in episode 95. And recently, we've heard that William wants to take over Prince Andrew's residence, Royal Lodge. It just sounds like they're trying to come up with excuses for why they've been living apart, or to explain to the public.
Well, and what's very sketchy to me is that, very quietly we heard last year that the Queen had authorized Will and Kate use of the Sandringham main house. That's their living arrangement when they're in Norfolk, and no one, they're completely enclosed there. No one is going to gossip about them if William is in the big house and Kate stays at Aylmer Hall and they live separate lives that way. So why are they trying to move that sort of arrangement into Windsor and London and Bucklebury? I don't really get it. I think they just want another property. They want more homes. They want more everything.
For a bunch of reasons, probably so they can continue to live apart, but also so that they have more influence.
Yeah, I do think that William wants Royal Lodge. I don't think he's going to get it, though. As long as the Queen is alive.
Queen is alive, yeah.
Andrew's going to stay at Royal Lodge, and Andrew has a lease.
Okay. And there was this line that you wanted to talk about, how the Cambridges felt overlooked in London. And it seems really weird the way they phrase that. I guess they want to be closer to the Queen. They want to be closer to the royal goings-on. Is that what that means? Like they felt like they were too far away from everything?
Yeah, the way it was framed is they felt overlooked in London. They felt overlooked in Kensington Palace, which doesn't make any sense because Charles is obviously assuming more and more power. Charles is obviously going to be spending more time in London as he assumes more power. You would think William, as the heir, the other heir, would want to be closer to his father, not his grandmother. I feel like Katie Nichols said that for a purpose. It's just a little seed that people are starting to plant, that not everything is going well for the Cambridges, that something very fishy is happening. And not just in the Cambridges' marriage, but in Will and Kate's relationship with the Queen and with Charles and with the internal power structure of the Windsors.
Yeah. So we'll have to see what happens with them. I mean, they've been on vacation for quite a while, probably not together either.
Yeah. So I don't believe that they've spent the summer in Norfolk together. I do not.
No. So Piers Morgan also had a kind of conclusion to his bullshit that happened in March. We talked about that on episode 85. He either quit or got fired from Good Morning Britain on ITV after this ridiculous episode where he stormed off set while he was being mildly and calmly questioned by the weatherman Alex Beresford, who was on the panel that day, about his obsession with Duchess Meghan. And he couldn't take it, and he stormed off. He's lied about Meghan. He said that Meghan has been lying about her mental health, and she's been lying about the racism she experienced. And he's clearly obsessed with her since he tricked her into going out for drinks with him once, and she ghosted him after that.
I mean, yeah, he'd been obsessed with her since 2016, and he'd been picking at that, obsession for months. And then when the Oprah interview came out, he just lost his fucking mind. And it got to the point where his coworkers were saying, look, Piers, you cannot say these things. You cannot behave this way. And that's when he stormed off.
So over 50,000 people complained to the British watchdog organization Ofcom about Piers, and Meghan also put in a call to the president of ITV to complain about Piers' comments about suicide because he was dismissing that someone could be suicidal. I mean, that's very damaging. And we heard this week that Piers was cleared by Ofcom. So that doesn't mean much. It just means that he can say his bullshit. It doesn't mean he's got his job.
I didn't even realize that there was an investigation, so to speak. that was news to me, that Ofcom is an investigative body, that it was looking into the 50,000 complaints against Piers and like actually coming to some sort of conclusion, like adjudicating it. All they basically found was that, yeah, he was sort of off the rails and he was like criticizing her too hard, but it's his right of free speech. And also there was balance because Alex Beresford challenged him. Okay, so, and then what? And then Piers started saying, I want my job back. I'm getting all these offers for jobs and I want Good Morning Britain back.
A source from ITV told the Daily Mail they have no current plans to invite him to present Good Morning Britain. Piers decided to leave. We accept his decision.
Which is hilarious.
Yeah. They are just like, it's his decision. Live with it. You fucked around and you found out. So he's such an asshole.
I don't get the blaring headlines from the British media like Piers Morgan has been proven right. He hasn't been proven right. He's been proven that he can have an opinion and have that opinion be vile. That's all he proved.
He runs the Daily Mail online, so of course they're making it seem like he won this when he didn't win anything.
But he's just one of the editors on the Daily Mail.
Okay, yeah. They're on his side for a good reason.
Yeah, I mean, they're paying him, so. Yeah, and just like, how rotten is that? Like, they're paying him to just write those crazy screeds. It's bad enough that they pay Dan Wooten. Ooh.
They're all kind of wacky over there. So they are. It's like, whoa, what planet are they on? So we talked about the royals on Zoom, and this is Zakiya, Ulnaz, Amira, Karen, and Ashley.
Is it the case maybe that only one of them is moving and that will justify being seen, not seen together and, you know, like Kate and Windsor all the time? But they're not actually really moving together.
Like, I kind of agree with Kaiser that that's already the case. Now they're just trying to formalize it a bit. And then they'll be like, okay, we have 2 residences, which he has to stay away because of the kids, whatever. I think it's probably already the case.
Well, there have been rumblings about them not living together since right before lockdown. Like, they kind of let it slip when Will had the Rona. And they were talking about how he didn't have to isolate away from the kids and Kate. And it was like, oh, well, why wouldn't he have to do that unless they weren't in the same house to begin with?
Yeah, I think they've been living separate lives for a while, maybe living in the same place, but in separate bedrooms. So I think they're doing what a lot of people in those circles do. They're together, but really not together. I see Meghan has been cleared of being a bully. The whole thing was just poorly executed anyway. Who wants to go on record and basically lie? You know, she's got all the emails. She's got all the text messages. Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, go ahead and prove your case.
Well, I see that Piers Morgan was cleared of any, he wants his job back now.
Well, he walked away. He walked away because he didn't want nobody to question him and what he does. That young man is entirely too old to act the way that he does. There is something wrong with him, and it's called, I've been coddled for way too long.
Yeah, I mean, Ashley's right. He walked away and he's been coddled. He doesn't just get to come back and be like, I want my job back.
Especially since he quit.
I know. I know.
Yeah. There are consequences for being a dumbass, basically.
All right, let's talk about the Supreme Court decision. So this week, the Supreme Court did not block a law in Texas banning abortion at 6 weeks. And that's before most women even realize they're pregnant. And there are no exemptions for rape or incest. And it's just pretty awful.
And the law is genuinely bonkers. It's not like, oh, there are armed police outside of, Planned Parenthood arresting nurses. They're deputizing civilians to make citizens arrests and basically sue anyone involved in the whole abortion issue. It's going to completely destroy the Texas legal system, basically.
Yeah, it's outrageous.
And I don't even think that the Supreme Court, even the really horrible conservative justices, I don't think that they shrugged this off because they thought it was a good law. I think even someone like Clarence Thomas, I think he knows that it's a fucking bonkers law. Maybe this is like some sort of next level legal issue where they're just like, oh no, this will never be enforced. It's too stupid.
I hope so. But I mean, it's all the good justices tried to block it. So we're giving too much credit, I think, to the conservative justices. But maybe you're right, and I hope you're right.
Yeah, I keep seeing like these messages from, media critics and whatever. They're saying that like Fox News isn't even talking about it.
Yeah, I heard that too.
The conservative media isn't even crowing about this as a big victory for them and for anti-choice people. Everyone wants to keep this kind of quiet because they realize that if they start to celebrate it or promote it, there's going to be huge backlash against them.
Because it affects conservative women too, and it's not just about abortion, it's basic health care.
Right.
Women can't take care when they find that a fetus is not viable or is going to die soon after birth. They can't take care of that anymore. They're forced to give birth. That's barbaric.
Yeah, it is. I've seen that TikTokers are already flooding the system where, neighbors can inform on neighbors and all that sort of stuff.
There's a way to spoof the form so you can submit a bunch of requests at once to ruin their data. That's citizen activism.
Right. And I can't wait for the K-poppers to get involved.
Yeah, it's the same people. So we talked about this on Zoom, and this is Zakiya, Elnaz, Rhiannon, and Amira.
We all, I'm sure, heard what happened in Texas. And someone made a great point is that they're not stopping abortion, they're stopping safe abortions. But women will find a way to get an abortion. It's the safe abortions that are going to be stopped, but not actual abortions.
And rich women will still get them safely, even in Texas. I mean, they'll find a way. It's the marginalized, it's the poor, it's the people of color that won't be able to get them. The mistress of whatever the idiot's name is, will still be able to get her abortions.
Well, and then, okay, so now you're wanting to make abortions illegal. So what's going to happen once the child is born? You don't want to give them health care. You don't want to do preventative medical care, all these other type of things, which will burden the system. So which is it that you want? To me, it's just frustrating. Yeah, okay, abortion. But once they get here, what are you going to do? Nothing.
Will not give it free lunch. The school district in Wisconsin, they actually reversed their decision because of the outcry from parents and the community. So they are going to spoil kids by actually feeding them.
Feeding them.
That's the one you said spoil?
Yes, we don't want to spoil kids by giving them food. So we're just going to...
I got 3 square meals.
Yeah.
Spoiled brat.
Just little brats actually eating breakfast and lunch.
Yeah, these are the same people who are outlawing abortion. They don't want to give kids lunch. It's depressing. I hope that it's somehow struck down in Texas. I feel for all the women in Texas and all the women in red states. And if this becomes a thing, if Roe v. Wade is overturned, it's scary to live in the U.S. anywhere. You don't know if you're going to get a Republican governor and your whole state's going to be fucked.
Yeah, I mean, remember when Virginia had McConnell?
Yeah, he was horrible. And they had that law where you had to get an ultrasound before you got an abortion.
Yeah, and that died.
Yeah.
Because it was a bonkers law. It was forced ultrasound. Yeah. And McConnell was our last Republican governor, and he got arrested for fraud. The charges were eventually dropped, but it was great. Bob McConnell. Look him up.
Yeah. They find all these ways to chip away at abortion.
But it's been that way for years.
Yeah.
A lot of people are acting like this Texas thing is a brand new thing that is going to destroy Roe. Roe has already been chipped away for years and years and years.
No, yeah.
And women in the red states are getting it so much worse. But if we get to the point where the current Supreme Court does overturn Roe, what you will see is states actually taking the initiative to provide more services to women or outlaw women's reproductive systems altogether, basically.
Oh, it's scary. I hope that doesn't get that way. And we've seen how frail our system of government is.
Yeah.
The past 5 years now. I didn't want to talk about this, but we had to. It's like the major news because it's uncomfortable. It's scary. You know, it's something where it's like, holy shit, I can't believe this is happening. But all right, come up with some other way to talk about it that's better than what I just said.
No, I mean, it's going to suck. What it's going to do mostly is screw over poor women and screw over well-funded pro-choice groups, because those are the ones who are going to have to waste the fucking resources to sue the government of Texas. And instead of being able to fund expanding abortion rights and reproductive rights across the board, we have to then waste millions of fucking dollars suing the pants off Texas and Louisiana and Alabama and whatever fucking state does this shit.
Yeah, these backward states. Yep. All right, let's move on to the comments of the week. So my comments are from last week because I saw these and I wanted to talk about them. And I didn't know we would get even more stories in this vein. But they're from Kat's post about the FDA told people not to take the horse dewormer for COVID, ivermectin. So Sam the Pink wrote, dude, they were drinking fish tank cleaner when the president suggested it. I think we have long passed the road marker for the decline of the species. Another comment, Susie Witt said, there are people that want to take it. Why are we telling people to stop ingesting this? I say, let's see this one play out.
Did you see that comment? I deleted it. It was on the Joe Rogan post today. It was so snide and arrogant. So the comment was basically like, how do you know it doesn't work? You know, everyone is taking the dewormer, and let me tell you, it works.
And a lot of people quote the World Health Organization saying it's like this groundbreaking medication. Yeah, it is, because people all over the world get parasites. This is an anti-worm medication. Yeah, people can take it. But COVID is a virus, dumbasses. It is not a parasite. If you have worms, sure, take it at your doctor's direction, but don't take enough to treat a horse that's 5 times your size. Like, what the...
And just the idea of like people like feeling feverish, feeling like they might have COVID, and going to their local feed store to get horse medicine, horse dewormer.
Did you see that tweet that was like, if you buy this, you have to show us a picture of your horse? It's like a handwritten note at the feed store for people.
That's hilarious. All right. My comment of the week is from, so Sony finally fired Mike Richards off of Jeopardy. He stepped down as host, but he was still executive producer, and Sony hired a minder for their executive producer so he wouldn't sexually harass people and be a general dumbass.
Yeah.
And the commenter, who are these people, wrote, and the funny thing is, if he hadn't had the hubris to think he could also host the show, he could have kept his job as producer, rubbed salt into his own wound. It's so true.
Yeah. He's such a mediocre white man, like thinking he can run everything. And then when he gets busted for being an awful person, he's like, well, I'll just keep my old job where I still run everything, except I'm not the host too.
Yeah, they didn't even vet him.
They didn't vet him. They didn't even try out the woman who Trebek said he wanted to succeed him. And they were just awful.
And Mike Richards made it so that like LeVar Burton had the worst audition, or like the worst ratings for his audition.
But they only gave him a week, and it was during the Olympics. Everybody else got 2 weeks. Who's that guy, James Holzhauer, the guy who won because he was good at betting and stuff? He's also phenomenally smart and knew all the answers, but he hated Mike Richards, and he was tweeting about what a douche he was backstage.
And apparently Trebek's widow left a note and a tie for Ken Jennings during his guest hosting gig. Then Mike Richards wouldn't even let Jennings or the Trebek widow onto the floor while he was filming.
He's petty.
Yeah.
He got fired now.
Yep. Sony is bonkers for keeping him on. They should have just fired him outright.
So many companies work that way. Like, just so toxic, and they just do whatever they can to protect the people at the top because there's worse people than them over them. And they see.
Yeah, but Sony wouldn't have done that if it was a woman in a position of power.
Because the women aren't making decisions. Because the
Mike
people
is
making
their
decisions
bro.
are white dudes.
Mike Richards is their bro, and they were like, no, we'll give him a million other chances.
Yeah. And they'll probably give him $10 million when they fire him.
Yep. I think probably more than that.
Ridiculous. All right. Thanks for listening, bitches.
Thanks, bitches.
Thank you for listening to the Celebrity Podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. If you like us, please turn off your ad blocker when you visit our site. You can text us or leave a voicemail at 434-218-3219. Our music is from AA Alto, Maiden, and via Premium Beat and Sound of Picture. Thanks again.